Hi everybody, this is Debbie from the Inspiration Station. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a process video for a double-page scrapbook layout. To get started today, I have pre-printed my photos. I went through and found some papers that I wanted to use for the page. I am doing a double page this time, and I don't often do those, and I'm a little challenged by the photos that I have because it was a day trip that friends and I took to Cape Cod, and there are two distinct parts of that day, I guess. So the first part of the day, we did a scavenger hunt. So there's this online company that does photo scavenger hunts, and you buy a ticket for whatever place you're visiting, and there's spots all over the country, probably all over the world, and they give you photo prompts. So they tell you where to start and where to go, and it takes you around all the sites and maybe some things that you wouldn't have seen on your own, some of the lesser known attractions. And it's just a fun way to spend some time. So we did that in the morning into the afternoon, and so I have pictures from that, and it was kind of neat because they give you the prompts, and then you take your photos and you upload them. So like for this one, it says, take a clear, people-free photo of Town Hall for future roamers. Consider it your digital footprint. And I printed these photos with the prompts on them because I thought that was pretty cool. So snap a photo in front of the historic Provincetown Hall building. Let's see, what else do we have here? This one is, I'm sure the pilgrims were glad to hear land ahoy after that storm. Snap a pic of a teammate pretending to search for land. So there's some silly prompts in there too, which was kind of fun. So I have those, and that's going to be the left side of my layout because that was the morning and afternoon. But then in the evening, we took a sunset cruise out on the harbor. And so I have all these photos that are, sunset related. And then I have some, these are the smaller pictures of us that, I had an individual picture of each of us. And then this was just silly, and it's very small, so you may not be able to see it. But we didn't have a lot of people on the boat. I think there was 20, maybe 30 people tops on this boat. So it was great. We had a lot of space, and we pretty much had the bow all to ourselves. And so we were reenacting that scene from Titanic, where it's, I'm the king of the world. And so that was just kind of a fun one. And I wanted to get that on there, maybe with a story underneath and a flip flap or something. So the challenge here is to make all of these pages, all of these photos work together as a double page. And they're just very different. Obviously the tone and the color of them. So what I decided to do was, well, first of all, I found this pink fresh paper, and I have this in 12 by 12, and I really liked it, but it was extremely busy. So pink fresh tourist mode, I believe, was the name of the collection. And I liked this because it had the map on it. And we did the scavenger hunt, so I kind of wanted to use that. But then I couldn't figure out how I was going to, incorporate it with these. So I ended up going back to the pink fresh pile. And from the same line, I have this paper here, which obviously it goes together with the blue. But these photos didn't look terrible on it. I thought, it kind of highlighted them. So I thought the right side of the page, I can use this. And I did go to the smaller version of the paper for the left side because it is just so busy. And I will probably do a grid pattern. I'm not sure how I had these planned out. Let's see, we started at the Art Center, and then, so yeah. So those will end up sort of in a grid pattern over on the left. But I think I want this blue to also, come over onto the left. So I'll see how that works out. But I did want to kind of border this as well. So I found a piece of basil, I think it's basil. Yeah, basil cardstock. It is called Evening Surf. Not even sure if it's a current color or not, if they're still making it. But it worked really well with the darker blue in this paper. So I will probably do some sort of a thin border around these papers. Now, obviously this is an 8.5 by 11, so it's not going to be long enough, but my plan is to do a frame style foundation and cut this down. So I'll have the, get this out of here. I'll have the white paper at 12 by 12, and I'll probably bring the blue down to maybe 11 by 11 or maybe even 10 by 10 to give myself a nice white border, because the photos don't take up a whole lot of space. I do plan to use, well, I lost the piece that had the information about the scavenger hunt on it. It's here somewhere. It's hiding underneath one of the papers. Anyway, that is going to go on this page to explain the scavenger hunt, and then I'll have my journaling underneath it. So I don't need the full 12 by 12. It's not going to take up the, so I think a border, a really wide border will work, which will also allow me to use this without having to you know, jerry-rig anything to get it to work. So I do have that, but then it's very plain to me. Let me see if I can get these in the order that I'm going to have them. And I wanted to tie in the orange from the sunset. I have to bring that over to this side of the page somehow. So I went and found this, let's get this over here. I found, this is a watercolor, I think it's called watercolor, yeah, Watercolor Wishes from Lawn Fawn. It's the carnelian color, and I thought it went perfectly with the sunset. So I think I may just put a very thin border of that around the blue, like that. It's kind of hard to see how it's going to work out, I think, with me just piling everything here, but this is how I work. I just kind of try to plan it ahead before I start cutting anything. So I think if I trim that down, you know, so that it has that orange border around it, around the outside, and then onto the white, that'll tie the whole page together. Bring the orange over here. I've got the blue tied in over here with that, and then it's a matter of embellishing. So I'm going to start by trimming everything down and making the base of the page, and then I will start looking for embellishments. So I will be right back. All right, my first dilemma. So I cut the orange paper down to 10.5. I haven't cut off the left side yet because I don't want to cut anything until I'm positive everything will work. So I've got 10.5, and then I cut the blue to 10 inches in height. Now, the thing is, because of this pattern, I need to make sure that it's going to match up when the two pages come together, because if it doesn't, it will make me crazy. So I have to do a little bit of marking, I think, here. And one of the things that I noticed is the back side of this has a bunch of wordy bits, and one of them is out on the water, so that's perfect. There's travel snapshot. Up here we've got a tiny adventure, exploring the city, iconic landmark. So there's a bunch of words here that I may want to use. I already cut that first piece, so I've got a couple of them here that I can use, but I want to use the words at the top too. There's words at the top, so I wanted to cut that. Now here's where the problem comes in. If I cut off that, if I cut the top off, the bottom is not going to match up perfectly. Now it also depends on where it's going to go here, right? So I have to, how am I going to do this? I want the top. Will I be able to line it up? So I guess I'm just going to have to put it together in the middle like this. If I can even get that to work. It's not perfect, is it? It's going to have to do. All right, so I'm going to have to cut it here and here, and then put it together. Okay, let's see. If I put it here, I'll have to cut that side off. Put this in the center. All right, that's going to be good enough, I think, because I use a 3-ring album. So there's going to be space in between it. It's not going to show much. I think that's the best I'm going to get, is right there. And then I will have to cut off this side and this side. I was hoping I could keep a bigger piece, a bigger chunk of it, but I don't think that's going to work. All right, so I hope I did this right. I cut my sunset paper to 11 1/4 wide, and we'll see if I messed it up or not. No, that looks like it's going to be good. Okay, but I don't want to waste all this beautiful paper hiding it behind that, so I will end up gutting this. But for now, I'm just going to tuck it back there so we can see what this is supposed to look like. All right, there we go. There's the basis. Now, I want to use this. Oh, what's that? There's the paper. So these are 6-inch papers, right? And I'm going to have to cut them. I kind of want to keep that little bit of water on there, I think. Not that it's going to show because there'll be photos on it, but I think, well, how can I, oh, actually I can just overlap it right like that, I think, and then cut it down. Do I want it up higher? Yeah, let's do that. That way I can hopefully get it straight. So I'm just going to overlap that. And I'm using this highlighter tape. It's just a regular office supply highlighter tape, but it's really handy to hold things in place and it doesn't rip anything when I take it apart. I use this for my die cutting and everything. So I want to cut the top off of this, and I have to double check because my measurements, you know, we don't want to mess that up. I want this to be 10 inches. It looks like it's a little less than 10 with this ruler. Let's start with 10 and see how that works. So the added benefit of overlapping instead of butting it up against is if I cut it wrong, which it doesn't look like I did, but if I cut it too short, I have a little bit more that I could spread it out, but it looks good there. Okay, so this is the blue that I want to mat this on, but I only want it on the outside. I mean the two sides. I don't want it at the top, you know what I mean? Maybe. Okay, so it's 6 inches wide, so I need this to be, how wide do I want it? I'm going to make it like 3/8, so it's in between 1/4 and 1/8. Yeah, let's cut it at 3/8 by 10. I'm sorry, 6 3/8 by 10. Sorry that I have to keep pausing, but my trimmer is not directly here on my desk, and I didn't want to have to keep turning away and making you wait, so I just stop the camera, go over, cut what I need to cut, and then I come back. So get that on there. And you'll notice I'm not gluing anything down yet, just because, as I've said before, things change often in my world. So I'm not sticking anything down yet, but I know that I want these photos over here. I will probably end up matting something. Is this the one that I had? I think I have a different one. Yeah, okay. I have that. I don't think I'm going to use this one because the color's just way off. So I'm going to have these guys here, that there. I did cover up my friends' faces because, you know, privacy. They may not mind, but I don't want to take any chances. Okay, so I think that's how those are going to end up. Oh, I also have my little Titanic one, so that may end up here, right? Okay. So from here on out, I will be doing a voiceover because I kind of messed up in my filming. At one point, I thought I had turned the camera on, and I hadn't. And then I thought I turned it off, and actually turned it on. So I think I recorded about 20 minutes of me leaving the table to go do my journaling on the computer. And I missed all of my choosing the embellishments and things for the page. So unfortunately, you will not see that, the process of how I chose those. But I can tell you that I used embellishments packs that came from the Tourist Mode and Out and About lines from Pink Fresh Studios, and a few other things that I added on. You'll see here as I'm mounting the photos, I did choose to matte the photos in black just to make them stand out more against that matte paper. I found an embellishment that was just a phrase that said, "So glad we did this," and it was actually on black, and it was the only black that I had on the page. So I went back and I decided that the photos on the left could use that black matting. Once I did that, I said, you know what, all of the photos should have the black matting. It just helps them to pop away from the background. So that's what I'm doing here. And I did pick out a few embellishments that I played around with. I started, layering them on the page. Some of what you see here ended up in the final product, some did not. I decided to matte the smaller photos here on the right-hand side of the page with that blue paper that I used on the left, which helped to carry that color over to that side of the page. I used my trimmer to cut apart the word strips that were on the paper I trimmed. They lined up really nicely, so that was easy to do. Then I put the grid together here on the left-hand side, just using a piece of chipboard that I cut 1/2 inch wide so that I could keep the border at the top and the bottom even. Double checked with the T-square ruler to make sure they were lined up, and matted the photos over on the right-hand side. As I said before, I did not get the footage of me putting all the embellishments down. So what you're going to see next is just the final product, the end of the page, after I had put the journaling on. I really like the way this came out. I think it's clean, it's neat, but still has a lot of personality with all of the different pieces of ephemera and such. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please take a moment to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. I really appreciate that. It helps to recommend my channel to other people. So with that, here's some detail shots. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.